And here we are a little bit later on, and as you can see, the TEAC has made it successfully to my workbench. And that was really something else. This thing weighs an absolute ton. And I really had a great time carrying this thing over here. I can tell you that much. Anyway, there it is once again. And now I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And here we have the machine with the back panel taken off. This is quite an impressive sight. As you can see, we have 3 massive motors for the reels. Those are direct drive. I have a big motor right there with a fan on it. That's for the capstan. I have a massive flywheel down there, and as you can see, the belt is still good because the flywheel is doing exactly what I'm doing here with the motor. Motors were made by TEAC themselves. Each motor has 2 of these little things. These are oil ports. And I would like to get my hands onto some of the special oil that's required for these motors. Just to make sure that this machine keeps on running for the next decades. Have a transformer. It does say TEAC, but it also says Youth Electric Company Limited. Also says 68, but I don't think this was made in 1968. Electronics are down in there. And got to do the exposure manually because this camera is having a hard time getting a good picture at high contrasts. There is a circuit board mounted upside down. You can see we have a lot of dust inside of here. And up there is more. Upside is looking pretty filthy as well. Have to see if I can clean that all out. This circuit board right there is, so you can see that's only used halfway. This is of course the model A-2300SX. This is basically the small model that can only handle the 7-inch reels. They also made the A-3300SX, and that also supported the super big studio size reels. And in that machine, there was a circuit to select whether you use the big size or the small size of reels on there, like a couple of relays and little capacitors, that kind of stuff. But anyway, up there we have something that that's a little too bright. Up there we have something that I really want to try to clean as good as I can. These are some wire wound resistors, and I can imagine these are getting pretty hot, and I really don't want them to burn all the garbage that's on there off, because that's going to stink. But anyway, first of all, I want to take care of that stupid power jack right there. And here we are a little bit later on, and as you can see, the new standard power jack is in its place. So now I can use one of the billion cables that I already have lying around, and I don't have to pay a ridiculous price to get a replacement cord that fits the original jack. Don't worry, I did not have to modify the chassis or anything like that. It just fits right into there. The cables unfortunately turn out to be a little bit short, especially this one, which is this actually came originally with the jack. This one I cut off of the old jack. It goes to the voltage selector. Kind of managed to get the insulation sleeve back over there. The safety ground is not hooked up, and yes, I know there are plenty of people who are now going to kill me for that. But I could see absolutely no evidence on the original jack right here that there has ever been any kind of a contact for a safety ground. I mean, like this stuff right here, there's color on there, so that can't be good for making a connection to the chassis of the housing. So yep. Just decided to leave that unused. I could probably hook it up somewhere, but oh well. Anyway, there is that. The little circuit board off by itself turned out to be a little bitch. I first, it was just sticking in there, and I first went ahead and took out these two screws because I thought I'd have to take those out, and this piece would just stay in there, but turns out that these two screw holes are actually the parts that are holding the screws for the power jack in. So this comes off whenever you take out the two power jack screws. So a lot of unnecessary trouble, because to one of these screws we have this attached. This is a nice little transistor to heatsink setup with insulation stuff and everything. So that was a nice mess when that fell apart. Actually had to turn the machine upside down and shake it to get all the parts out of there again. Oh well. But there it is. Also used a meter to make sure that there is no contact between the two, so that's fine. So now I want to go ahead. Could probably give this circuit board a little cleaning. You can see the capacitor is a little bit filthy. But that goes back into there, and then it should be ready to go. And oh, and I also took apart the chassis a little bit. I thought if this was a European machine, with this setup, it would have been possible to slide out the whole entire chassis and just take it out and do something with it. Well, it turns out you can't do anything like that because all the cables are too short. So this does come out, but the only thing you can get it to do is to hang down. So that's pointless. So that has to go back into its place. I now have the chassis right here back in its place. Circuit board is back in its place, and so also the power jack is now properly mounted. And when I moved the chassis back into its place, it turned out that the wiring that I hooked up to the jack down there somewhere, you can't see it, is actually long enough. So that's not a problem at all. So that is really nice, fits really well. Went ahead and set the voltage to 240 volts because this, just as all equipment that was sold in Germany, it was set to 220 volts. But since we now have 230 volts, and usually when I'm plugging my meters into the wall outlet, I'm getting round about 237 volts. Really, 240 volts is a much better choice. But there we have that remote control jack, which it's both remote control and timer control. This is the kind of plug that goes into there. Looks like a tube socket. And it's quite hard to get out, that plug. But there goes that. TEAC. So now I want to go ahead. I think you might be able to see I already started right there, but I now want to go ahead and do some of the necessary cleaning. Well, instead of doing all the cleaning, I decided to first do an actual test. And, well, the machine does work. Turn on power, meters come on. And as you can see, when I press, for example, play, yep, we end up with the first problem. It's a typical problem. The grease of the mechanism that moves the pinch roller up and down is hard, so you sometimes have to help it a little bit. Not a big problem. I do know how to fix that, so I'll be doing that as well. Just remove the old grease and relubricate that a little bit. Shouldn't be a big problem. Fast forward works. And Oh, okay. Seems like I don't want to do that. I just saw... Okay. I just thought I would... if you'd press rewind while doing fast forward, I thought there was a spark inside of there because I just went like that. But luckily there isn't. That's just daylight shining through there. Anyway, do have to press stop. Makes sense, because I guess if you would be able to go from fast forward straight into rewind, it would rip the tape apart. But rewind works as well. These little thingies there, and especially that thing right there, actually do seem to do something. The Philips N7150 all plastic reel-to-reel do has at least that part as well, but that doesn't seem to be doing anything. So that's kind of pointless. Brakes are working really well. And there it goes. Play back. Also has this little thing this little lever right there. If you flip that up, it plays back while you're fast forwarding or rewinding the tape, as you can see. Flip that down, just stops doing that. So better leave that in the down position, because if you have the tape running across the heads in fast forward or rewind, it's going to wear them out quite quickly. 3-motor machine, so it's nice and fast. And the brakes are working really well. Love it. This is a great machine. And it also sounds good. I have these old vintage Sennheiser headphones hooked up to the unit. And right here I'm playing this piece of garbage tape that was recorded on one of those nasty Grundig semi-portable reel-to-reel tape recorders in 4-track mono with... I don't know what on earth they were doing back in the days. Like, each and every recording of those machines is either too quiet, or it's completely overdriven, or they have bad contacts going on all the connections, so that sound just keeps cutting out. It really just seems like back in the 70s they weren't able to make any proper recordings on reel-to-reel tape recorders, at least on the cheaper ones. So that might be part of the reason why those finally disappeared. But even with this piece of garbage tape that was recorded just completely wrong, it really does sound very, very good. So that's nice. So now I want to go ahead and rewind the tape and take it off of there so that I can go and start fixing that pinch roller problem and do the cleaning.